Hey, what's going on, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy, and today I'm going to be doing another modern study date. I have a couple of these. I have another one that's kind of like a more general one like this one, just on like general modern tips. I also have a couple of specific ones. I think I have two more. One's on like how to play a control deck in modern, and the other's on like how to play against a control deck in modern. So they'll all be listed in my modern playlist. I've got playlists for everything if you want to go on an MTG Goddess binge. Welcome to the Jellyfish fam, if you're new. So modern study date. These are a couple of things that I kind of collected these ideas and then just kind of like jotted them down and thought that they would be really cool things to pass on to you guys. If you're someone who's new or someone who just wants to get way better at modern. Let's be real here, I play modern. Am I very good at it? No, I'm getting back into it very much. Okay, so the first thing I would say is if you're playing modern, and some of these are like just general magic things too, they don't even just relate to modern. The first thing is like verify like life totals all the time. This is really prevalent in a format where you have like fetches and chalklands. So however you choose to keep track of life totals, I keep track of them. This is just my notebook currently. I have like this little pink notebook, and I got some life totals and stuff, and this is from EDH. But when I have these, I will write down the life total, and I'll always say like, okay, you're fetching, are you going to 17 or are you just going to be at 19 at like the start of the game, for example? So just always check in with your opponent on what's going on. Life total discrepancies are a pain to try and smooth over. Then you have to call a judge over, and then you get time like taken away from your match. And if you're playing like a control deck or your opponent's playing a control deck, those games tend to go on longer and it's just like a nightmare. So always just keep, you know, in touch with the life totals. I feel like a lot of times some people who, I don't even want to say like, I don't know how to phrase this, but like some people who are more experienced in the game just may be like, well, duh, I'm going to 17. It's like, no, like I actually don't know that. Like I want to verify with you first. I'd rather hear from you than, you know, I just want to make sure that we're both on the same page with what your life total is at. The second thing is shuffle your opponent's deck. One thing I'd really just say about that is just to try and prevent if your opponent is unfortunately someone who's not going to, if they're going to be someone who cheats, trying to prevent that. Maybe there are probably ways where that doesn't mean anything, but I would honestly always just shuffle your opponent's deck just to be safe, and always kind of like pay attention to like, you know, when they're shuffling, are they looking sketchy when they're shuffling? I would always just kind of like verify that. Always just shuffle your opponent's deck, even if it's just like a simple cut or something like that. I always feel more secure. Like I'm always someone, the only times I don't do that if I'm playing like EDH, I'm like, or if I'm playing like, say I'm practicing modern with someone, I may not cut their deck, like I may just be like whatever. But if I'm in a competitive scene, like if I'm in a tournament or I'm in an FNM setting, I am always shuffling my opponent's decks. And two, I have to say too, something that I note is even if it's a friend of mine, like if I'm playing, I will sit there and like shuffle their deck like a couple of times. I'm not someone to just be like, boom, there you go. Like the first time, I shuffle it really sufficiently because I'm like, fam, not taking any chances. So this is my modern deck. I'm just shuffling, you know, this is what I do. I shuffle it for like a solid 30 seconds, sometimes even longer, just to verify that, you know, everything's all nice and good. So that's that. All right, number 3 is to make sure you have no broken sleeves. So I showed you guys the modern deck. I have a broken sleeve actually in my modern deck right now. This is, yeah, I've had these sleeves for like ever. And I'm pretty rough when I shuffle too. By the way, how sweet is this Fatal Push art? Guys, I picked these up just yesterday. They're so freaking pretty. These are the promo ones. They're really cool. I like it. There's like diamonds and stuff like shattering. That is so cool. Anyways, if I'm going to a tournament, there's no way you would see me with a deck that has a sleeve like this. There is no way you would see me in something like that. And moral of the story is you shouldn't do that either, because someone could say, Tracy, you did this to your Fatal Push? She's cheating. Now, do you honestly think me having this as casual, like not casual right now, but like I'm not bringing this to a tournament? Obviously I'm gonna re-sleeve it before the tournament. I don't even have perfect fits on this deck, guys, because we just moved, so like all of our perfect fits are like packed right now, so like I don't even have access to them and I have to buy new sleeves. Anyways, so I would not ever go to a tournament with a sleeve like this. Don't do that. Someone will call you out and someone will think that you're cheating. So moral of the story is don't have cracked sleeves like this. I'm being a really bad example because I have this right now and I totally should not. But like I said, I'm playing this like casually against people now. I'm not running out to a tournament and playing this. Once I do get into like an F&M or anything, I will have other slates on this deck. Of course I'm going to do that. And this kind of actually goes along with it. I did mention perfect fits. Make sure either every single card is perfect fitted or no cards are perfect fitted. So obviously I have no perfect fits right now on this deck because all of them are packed. But that can be another instance of marking cards. I've seen that. I went with a bunch of friends to a tournament once, and this guy who one of the friends at the time went, and he had some of the cards perfect fitted that were a little more expensive, so that looks super sketchy. That looks like you're cheating. Even if you're not doing it on purpose, it looks like you're marking cards to make the cards a little thicker so that you could potentially have them more easily accessed in your hand, you know, at the time that you want to cast them. So just don't do things like that. Make sure either every single card is perfect fitted or no cards are perfect fitted. Preferably though, perfect fit them because they're probably going to be expensive. Moral of the story is this is pretty expensive. I should perfect fit these, and I will. Yeah. Okay. Number 5. Fam, call judges if you need to. There have been instances where I totally should have called judges, and I have not. I've been so guilty of that. So their job is to help you. So use them. As good of a Magic player as you can be, there are going to be little rulings and little things that come up with how cards interact, or you're playing a meddling mage and you don't remember which Thalia you're gonna meddling mage, or like something like that. So make sure you're just asking judges questions when you need to. Don't feel like you're annoying them. They're paid to help you. And make sure that the game is run smoothly, make sure people are following the rules. So realistically, use them to your advantage. Okay, number 6 kind of sounds like an obvious thing, and that's know your deck. Now, this is prevalent, I would say, especially for people who are just starting out in the format, and even for people maybe who just recently changed their decks, is if I give you a deck list and say, I take your deck away and I say, write your deck list down, how well are you going to be able to do that? This is an extraordinarily important thing to know the ins and outs of your deck. And again, that sounds super obvious, like, I run 2 Fatal Pushes in my deck. I run 1 Torrential Gearhulk in my deck. I need to know that kind of stuff, because you're in an instance where you're like thinking about, okay, if I cast this one card, am I going to have the other card later on that I want to cast, or whatever it is the situation. So, or I decided to take this one card out of sideboard. This is a really especially important thing, is getting used to what you're sideboarding out and in. You know, making sure you're remembering those types of things. Which I know you can access your sideboard in the middle of the match, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. So if you do need to verify that, you can, but just to kind of avoid that, you know, that taking up that time, you know, as much as you possibly can, is know the ins and outs of your deck, know how many cards and copies you're running, especially if you change your deck up. If you're someone like me, I kind of test stuff out, like this Torrential Gearhulk, this may not always be in here. I may trade this out for like an Aetherling, for example. So I want to be able to remember if I'm looking and I'm like, I run a Torrential Gearhulk in my deck? What? I forgot about this. You don't want things like that. You want to be like, okay, sweet, I knew this card that I was drawing. So making sure you know the ins and outs of your deck is like really important. Number 7, this actually really came up, I would say, when I did my Dredge deck tech with John Martin, where we were talking about, you know, he's playing Dredge, which is like everything with the graveyard pretty much. And I was like, listen, people forget to check your opponent's graveyard because they're like, whatever, you know. Like, no, like, it's super important. If you're playing against someone and like they have any sort of graveyard interaction, whether it's big or small, make sure you're checking in with your opponent's graveyard, just to see. Like, I was watching, oh man, I don't remember what it was, some Star City Games Open. It was from January. I can't remember what city it was in, but someone was playing Infect. Emma Handy was playing Infect, and she had what is the card that it's Delve, and then you give something +6/+6. I'm blanking on it. Become Immense. She's playing Become Immense, and like she had like X amount of cards in the graveyard. So like that's something that's really important. Like if you're playing against Infect and like do they have enough to dredge away Become Immense? Pay attention to the number and what cards are in your opponent's graveyard. You're playing against a control deck. They're playing Snapcaster Mage. What do they have in their deck to Snapcaster Mage? Do they have a counterspell? Do they have a bolt? Do they have a Call Against command? What exactly are they doing? So really paying attention to your opponent's graveyard, especially if you're playing against a thing like Dredge. Dredge is all about the graveyard. graveyard, knowing what's in their graveyard, and it's going to change so frequently. So when someone says, I'm going to dredge and mill those cards, pay attention. What are they dredging into their graveyard? So just pay attention. It's very, very important. And listen, if you're playing against a deck that doesn't interact with the graveyard, you don't have to really worry about this one, but you're going to see graveyard interaction in Modern. It's just a thing that's going to happen, so just pay attention. Okay, I did some arrows. I don't really know what that means. Okay, so the next thing I would say, this is kind of a minor thing, but honestly, I think really important. It's look away from your deck when you're shuffling your cards. This, again, sounds like a super minor thing, but do it. If I'm like you say you're my opponent right now, and you see me going, or even if I'm like, that's really sketchy. You judge that, by the way. Point back to number 5. You judge that. Yeah, so the best case scenario, what I would say to that is when you're shuffling, just get really good at just doing this. Just I'm shuffling and I'm looking away. I'm looking literally at everywhere. I'm talking to my opponent. Hey, how's it going? How's your day going? My name's Tracy. What's up? Don't pay attention to what's going on here. So minor note, but really can cost you a judge call, and it's just gonna look sketchy. Even if you're not doing it on purpose, like some people just make it like that. Just don't even do it. Just literally look anywhere but at your deck. Okay, number 9. This came up in that dredge deck tech with John. I was saying how people need to read Magic cards. I am 1200% guilty of this. I need to get way better at this. Listen, guys. In Modern, there's going to be cards that you know are in the format. Tarmogoyf, Snapcaster Mage, Liliana, the Veil. You know those cards. You know what they do. There's going to be off-the-wall cards that you may not know what they do. It is okay to say, Keranos? Oh, that was actually good. It would have been a land. It would have been really anticlimactic. Keranos? I don't know what this card does. Here, can I please see your card so I can just take a second to read it? This is kind of a fringe card, and everyone may not know what Keranos does. I don't know. So really, grab your opponent's cards, ask them if you can read them, because it's so important for you to know what those cards do. It's going to totally impact your game and your gameplay. So, seriously, don't try to act cool. Don't try to act like, yeah, I know what every single Magic card in the world does, and I don't need to read a single thing. You're totally lying. You don't know what every single Magic card does, so read the cards. Okay, the last thing is ultimately play at your own pace. Don't slow play. Slow playing is like you're playing, and you have your hands and you're looking at the clock and you're like, I got 10 minutes left. What do I do? I have 3 lands in my hand. What do I cast? Okay, I got 9 minutes left. Yeah, no, don't do that. That's like, that's not cool. That's being a jerk. Don't do that. But moral of the story is go at your own pace. If you have that hand and you take like 20 seconds and you're like, huh, do I play this line or do I play this line? Okay. All right, cool, I'm gonna play this line. You know what I mean? But don't be like, this line. Like, take your time. You know what I mean? I was in this instance. I think I may have shared this with you guys. I remember this pretty distinctly. I was playing, I remember I was playing a Tron player, and I was playing Bloom Titan, and my opponent was a jerk, and he was pushing me to basically play faster, and I wasn't slow playing at all. Like, I would never do that. And just to like hear him kind of imply that I was doing that on purpose, like, we were on round 3, we had like 5 minutes left. Like, do you really want to think I want to sit here like the whole time? You know what I mean? No, I want to get this game done with, you know? And he was just being really awful about it. So call a judge if your opponent's being not great and urging you to play faster, because that's not cool. So yeah, moral of the story is just play at your own pace. You know, don't let anyone like pressure you. Don't let anyone rush you. And if your opponent's really giving you a hard time, call a judge. So yeah, that is it, guys. That is it for another modern study day. I really like doing these videos just as kind of like a, hey, these are like general things to like get better at playing the game. Again, some of them are like super like small nitpicky things, like don't look at your deck when you're shuffling, you know, and some of them are more like more general important things. So that is it. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.